Today, an opportunist thief makes off with our designer handbag, not realising there's a GPS tracker inside.
It's a really busy street, there's lots of people about, but he doesn't seem to care that he's being seen. He's very sneaky and he's got real nerve.
It's disgusting. It's really, really, really disgusting.
The risks of being a have-a-go hero. Two cyclists share the dangers they faced while tracking their stolen bikes.
I should have got hold of the police, but it's only afterwards you realise that you were in danger.
And we're with the West Midlands Police as they attempt to recover property they believe to be stolen.
One of the males has got 3 Xboxes and some other consoles, which is a little bit unusual. You might expect him to have 1, possibly 2, but certainly not 3 or more.
The UK handbag market is worth a whopping £1.2 billion. More than half the female population, that's 13.5 million women, bought a bag in 2013. The contents often make them highly valuable.
My bag is probably worth around £600, including the contents and the bag itself.
£300, probably, because the bag was quite expensive, and then makeup is expensive, and my phone, and my wallet. Okay, maybe more.
These desirable accessories and their contents make tempting targets for thieves.
Statistically, there's roughly 1,600 bag thefts per day in the UK. That's quite a large number. The thief will take them to a spot fairly close to where the offence was committed, have a look through the bag and take what's readily disposable and throw away the rest of it. And if it's a high value bag, they may well hang on to that as well, because it's anything they can make money off.
This type of crime has more than financial repercussions.
It is quite a lot of aggravation for the actual individual victim of these crimes. And then the knock-on effect of having to change the locks on your house, getting a new driving licence, getting your credit cards barred.
Tracing a handbag once it's been snatched is an almost impossible task, unless you fitted it with a GPS tracker like this. This tracking device has a small battery that can last up to 2 weeks, depending on how many signals it sends out.
The device can figure out its location. It can come up with a set of numbers that enable you to plot its position on a map and display that map on a computer screen. It does that by using GPS, the Global Positioning System. The basis of that technology is this device can make range measurements from here to satellites orbiting in space.
We're hiding our tracker in a mid-range designer handbag costing around £170 and stitching it into the lining. It should be tempting enough for the average sneak thief. With the tracker fitted, we set out for Soho in the West End of London. Each year, more than 800 thefts from the person take place here, accounting for half of the crimes of this kind for the whole of the Borough of Westminster. There are crime hotspots like this in towns and cities all over the UK, and we all know where they are where we live.
This area has a very heavy footfall with hundreds, if not thousands of people per hour walking through here. And the types of crime that we're looking at are opportunistic thieves, which often operate singly, or distraction-type thefts, which will be done in pairs or teams.
A member of the Thief Trackers team settles down outside a restaurant in Soho with our bag clearly visible. We can now see from the data that the tracker is live. With our surveillance operation underway, it's just a matter of time. The chilly spring air soon has our victim wrapping up warm, but she's behaving just as we all would when dropping by our favourite cafe. The idea of this operation is not to confront thieves. We just want to see where our belongings go once they've been stolen. Now we're rolling, our overt cameras withdraw, and we're left with these 2 hidden cameras, plus the restaurant's own CCTV. It's getting dark, and no one has shown any criminal intent towards the bag. But the street is becoming busier. He's clearly interested. And he's coming back for a second look. "30 seconds later, and he's here again. He can't keep away. It seems as though he's checking his escape route, perhaps waiting for the crowds to thin out before picking his moment to strike. He's sidled right up to the table. It'll take a brazen thief to grab it from there. But he does. Our £170 designer handbag is nabbed, and the thief slips away into the crowds. Later on Thief Trackers, we're on the trail of our stolen designer handbag, on its journey through the London back streets.
It is quite shocking. You can hardly believe that it's happened. That's awful.
The bag came to this area in the early hours of the morning after being picked up from the original drop point.
According to the National Police Database of Stolen Property, the items most wanted by thieves in the UK are portable computers, smartphones, and bicycles. There were 395,000 bicycle thefts in England and Wales in 2014. With a recovery rate as low as 5%, it seems tracking them can be very difficult. Organised criminal gangs are often responsible, targeting specific areas with a high density of bicycles. But a bike is still vulnerable to opportunist individuals. University lecturer Gavin Evans is a recent victim.
I had locked it properly out, a good solid lock, and I thought that was absolutely safe. I didn't think anyone could get through that.
And even though he didn't have a tracking device on his bike, he was determined to track it down somehow.
When I came back, I saw the lock in two pieces had been clipped, and the bike was gone. It just really angered me that somebody who's going to sell the bike for much less than it's worth, what does it mean to them? But for me, it meant a lot.
Gavin's blood was up. He wasn't going to take this lying down. So he began searching for his stolen bike.
A friend of mine, Gabby, had had her bike stolen, and she had traced it on an online auctioning site.
Gavin logged on, expecting a long trawl through hundreds of legitimately advertised bicycles.
And I looked, and there was my bike. First thing up. Well, I realized I had to act very quickly, so I phoned the seller. We then agreed to meet on a street corner, which already looked suspicious, in East London, and the next day.
A risky move. Police advise never to approach a seller like this without their backup.
He was a young guy of about 22, a couple of scars on his face, quite thick set. And so I said, well, I want to give the bike a ride. And I gave the bike a ride, but it was very dark.
It looked like his bicycle, but once he went for a spin, he realised that something wasn't quite right.
The rack had gone. The pedals had been changed. I had had slide-in pedals, and the slide-in things had been taken off.
Now, he wasn't 100% convinced that this was his bike, but he still took a chance and confronted the seller.
I said to him, it feels exactly like mine, but it doesn't have the carrier, and the pedals are different, so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But I said to him, I'm 90% sure it's mine, that you've stolen my bike. His response was, no, I would never steal a bike. I bought this from a friend. So I said, yeah, and I just walked away.
Uncertain that it was his bicycle, Gavin returned home empty-handed. Then he began to have second thoughts.
Started sort of kicking myself, and I thought, what were the odds? And I thought, I was a fool. That was my bike.
Undeterred, Gavin resumed his quest. With the bicycle still up for auction, he called the thief again. He knew he'd have to disguise his identity, so he opted for the full dead ringers approach.
The only thing I could think of was this rather ridiculous faux Texan voice. So I phoned the guy and I said, I want to buy this bike. I've got to buy it for my daughter. That kind of thing. Very bad accent. And he agreed to meet me again.
Gavin chanced his safety for a second time. Needing more than a dodgy accent, he tried changing his appearance. Hopefully, he wouldn't regret it.
I was worried that he might be wielding a knife, so I tucked those in sort of like that. And there we go.
Gavin set off for another meeting with the thief, taking an enormous risk. But he was determined to see his dangerous plans through to a conclusion.
He said, "But aren't you the guy who thought that I'd stolen the bike?" And I said, "No, you've got the wrong guy there."
With his flimsy cover story falling apart, Gavin had no choice but to act.
I took off my hat, I took off my sunglasses, I pushed my face up to his, and I said, "You're a thief, you stole my bike." Except I didn't, I used more industrial language.
Buoyed up by adrenaline, he was determined not to let the opportunity slip a second time.
And I said, "You and I will go to the police together and we'll sort out whose bike is whose." And he said, "Or you could just take it." So I said, "Okay, I'll just take it." So I got on the bike and rode home. So all was well in the end.
Considering the risks he took, Gavin was lucky to get his bike back without injury. Others have been less fortunate.
I should have got hold of the police, and particularly the second time around. But sometimes you don't feel fear then. It's only afterwards you realise that you were in danger.
Elsewhere in London, Alex Sweeting found himself in a situation where he felt compelled to come to the aid of a mugged bike victim.
Just cycling down this road, it's obviously quite busy now, but on the night it was pretty much empty.
Previously, Alex had been involved in a tangle with a car, so he fitted a camera to his bike in case of further incidents. However, on that night in March 2015, his camera recorded an altogether different drama. On his way back from a cycle club meeting, Alex suddenly noticed a man dressed in cycling gear hurrying towards him.
As I pulled up next to him, he said, "They've stolen my bike." He'd actually been barged off his bike by 3 guys, and they proceeded to beat him up, kick him, and then they took his bike and off they ran.
Without a second thought for his own safety, Alex hit the pedals and gave chase to the bike thieves.
I guess the adrenaline must have kicked in. You can see my heart rate goes up on the video.
He was lucky not to have burst a blood vessel.
I didn't really think at all. I just thought, what can I do? If it was me, I'd hope someone would do the same thing.
Pumped up and in pursuit, Alex sped along at close to 20 miles per hour. Soon he caught sight of the thieves.
So as I came around the bus, that's when I noticed that there was a dropped curb, and I would get there pretty much the same time as them. I waited until the very last minute till I shouted anything, and that's when they dropped the bike. That's when it kicked in, and I thought, if I carry on after them, I don't really know the area that well, so my life could have been in danger at that point.
The thieves ran off, and though the police combed the area, the bike bandits had long since vanished.
Yeah, I'm glad I stepped in. It's an awful feeling having something stolen, but it's even worse when you're actually on the bike as it gets stolen.
So what can we do as consumers in the fight against bicycle crime? Here's bike shop owner and cycling enthusiast, Richard Ben.
Double lock everything, so you lock the bike to something, you always lock the wheels to the frame, and if you can, put some lockable wheel skewers as well as. The more you can do, the better. Make it difficult for them.
One simple tip is to make a note of your bike's serial number, which you'll find on the bottom of the bike frame. Also, join Cycle Register, the police force bike registration scheme.
You need to go to any police station and they will mark it on the frame, add a sticker on the bike, which is impossible to peel off. As soon as the bike is recovered, they see that, you'll get it back relatively quickly.
But if the worst happens and your precious bike is stolen, it's still possible to track it down using old-fashioned detective work.
They often turn up on auction sites, online, in markets, second-hand shops. It's certainly worth keeping an eye out for. But be very, very careful. If you do go to recover your bike, please don't ever go to anything but a private address. Don't ever arrange to meet anybody in the street. And please take somebody with you, preferably a policeman.
Time to consider the fate of the designer handbag stolen during our very own surveillance operation. Earlier, we fitted a GPS tracker like this inside the lining of our bag. and took it to a restaurant on a busy street. Our victim was distracted and a crafty sneak thief swiped the bag. Oblivious that his every move was caught on camera. So where did the bag go? The tracker now does its job. The data shows that once the thief grabbed the bag, he quickly headed west to Old Compton Street, where the signal came to a halt right by this pub. It's just a few feet away from the restaurant where the handbag was stolen.
At 7:05 p.m. in a pub like this in Theatreland, that will be absolutely crowded, so he would be unnoticed. Probably gone to the toilets, had a look through the bag, seen what items he can readily get rid of and dispose of, and secreted the bag perhaps at the back of a cistern or somewhere within the toilets.
We checked the pub for ourselves. There was no sign of the bag and staff were unaware of it. But the tracker was still active, signalling from somewhere close by the pub. So we sat tight and waited for the next move. Two days after the theft, at 1 in the morning, the tracker suddenly signalled again. It's possible that the thief stashed it nearby on the street or in an adjacent building before moving it on. It's likely the thief took the bus, because half an hour later the tracker signalled from 4 miles away in Bermondsey, South London. Keith picks up the trail.
The bag came to this area in the early hours of the morning after being picked up from the original drop point and went into a tower block.
GPS technology will point you to a building, but faced with a 6-storey block of more than 50 flats, it's impossible to pinpoint the exact tracker location. So, more traditional search methods are required.
If it was the police service, they would be doing a number of intelligence checks to see if any known criminals lived within that block. Or as you're just trying to find out where the property went, a leaflet drop isn't a bad way of doing it, and hopefully somebody coming to you and saying, I brought this legally and honestly through these means.
Our team set out on foot, knocking on doors and leafleting the area. We even played our surveillance footage to local residents to see if they recognised the bag snatcher.
It's really disgusting.
It looks like he has some experience and he spotted an opportunity.
You don't want to be not trusting, do you? But unfortunately, it's increasingly necessary.
Another thing you can try is search on eBay, Gumtree, any of those type of property-type websites. Again, all different types of options, and you have to keep an open mind onto where the ultimate destination of the bag is.
The last report from the tracker still showed it somewhere in the block of flats. But the day after our leaflet drop, the signals suddenly stopped. It's possible that whoever had the bag was spooked by our inquiries, discovered the tracker and destroyed it. So what of the handbag? With the tracker destroyed, it would be easy for the bag to be sold on. To make it less easy to dispose of, we went to alert some local shops.
No, we do have bags that come in, but we haven't had what you described. But if it did come in, we'd be quite cautious. If it's a female, not so bad, but if it's a male that brought it in, we'd be very suspicious. I'd like to see the receipt for it. Have to have ID, such as some type of photo ID, and if we think that's OK, we would buy the bag. But what you describe, no, we wouldn't.
The whereabouts of our designer handbag are unclear. But if the authorities want to track down this Soho bag snatcher, they're more than welcome to take a look at our surveillance footage. Police forces across the country have various methods of tackling theft. In the West Midlands, Operation Magpie has been underway since May 2013. It's a dedicated crackdown on thieves in the Coventry area. PC James Rees is one of 4 officers in the Magpie team.
We've recovered in the region of £200,000 worth of stolen property. That could be anything from tablets, laptops, mobile phones, jewellery.
Finding out what becomes of stolen items is a daily task, and officers do whatever they can to recover property.
We've been responsible on our team alone for the arrest of in the region of 250 people for different offences, covering burglary, robbery, vehicle crime, and those arrests have led to an approximate detection rate of around about 70 to 75% over the course of those 2 years.
Reuniting stolen property with its true owners involves a lot of work. That means checking manufacturers' warranties, searching for user data in personal electronics, even posting lists of stolen goods on social media sites. The Magpie team have noticed a recent spike in theft numbers. Following a tip-off, they're preparing a series of raids across the city in the hope of recovering stolen goods.
We've received intelligence from a number of different sources that a nominal who's well known to us, a burglary target, who's just recently been released from prison, is back up to his old tricks, committing burglary and handling of stolen property in Coventry. The occupants inside there are all known drug users, so there is a risk in terms of needles and such like, so just be very cautious when you're searching. Is there any questions? Nope. Okay.
With no idea of what they might come up against, the Magpie officers must be prepared for any eventuality as they set off. PC Reese and the team will follow the standard procedure for a police visit.
Safety of officers is paramount in situations like this when we're going into what is the unknown. There may be weapons at the address, they might have hid bats, knives, machetes. You never know what you're going to face.
It's vital the officers minimise the likelihood of their targets being tipped off, so the element of surprise is essential.
We'll pull up short of the address, walk up to the address, and then knock the door, give the occupants the opportunity to open it voluntarily. If they don't, we'll be looking to force entry.
As they approach the area, PC Reese gets a surprise of his own. PC Reese has spotted someone from the address they are raiding, so they need to act fast.
Police officers with a search warrant, open the door.
Luckily, the front door is open and they gain entry before anyone is tipped off.
We're executing a search warrant.
Yeah.
You're not under arrest, you've just been detained, all right?
The resident has a history of burglary convictions. Officers believe he is linked to recent thefts and is using the house to fence, that is to store and sell on, stolen property.
The main target that we were looking for is actually here now with his girlfriend, along with a number of other nominals. So they were a little bit agitated to start with, but we've gained control of them. All the occupants are handcuffed now, so it's going well so far. We've got this one, that one. Right, OK.
The first two rooms don't provide any results, but they keep searching.
Just be mindful, obviously, of needles. Ah, what's that? Interesting. Hidden behind there. Digital camera.
Hello, please answer me, mate.
D-tagging. Yes.
Yes, it is.
We can have that as well then, going equipped.
You used to shop in C&A, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's vitally important that everything they find is logged in detail.
We've recovered a number of items, including a D-tagger, which is used to remove tags from clothing stores.
To avoid contaminating the evidence, they bag up items that raise their suspicions, including a camera.
There's a receipt in there that shows that it's been bought by means of a credit card, so we should be able to trace the owner of that through the credit card receipt. Although we can't say at this minute that the stuff is definitely stolen, we believe it is. That gives us the grounds to arrest them.
And the suspects are taken away for further questioning.
There's a number of drugs paraphernalias inside, tin foil, needles. We can also look at closing the place down as a possible crack house.
Time to visit property number 2.
Ready? I'm just going to pull up here, actually.
Police!
Police officers with a search warrant. Just letting you know we're in here, mate. All right, because we need to know who's in here. Let me explain what's going on. There are about 15 rooms inside this property, so we've got staff searching those rooms now.
The police carry out a systematic search of the house.
Is there anything in here that's stolen?
They find items that raise their suspicions.
So we've got a laptop there,
Okay.
a tablet and a phone.
Okay. That's an interesting thing. We had one of these knits as well.
Really?
Well, ages ago, but... One of the males has got 3 Xboxes and some other consoles, which is a little bit unusual. You might expect him to have 1, possibly 2, but certainly not 3 or more. There's a number of tablets as well in that room, which raises our suspicions, really. Mobile phones, cameras. We've also recovered 4 laptop computers, including 1 Apple MacBook, which we're really interested in, as well as a quantity of Class A from a safe. 1 male has been arrested on suspicion of possession of Class A drugs. Operation Magpie will be looking into all these items to see if we can link them and identify them to any crimes, any local burglaries. We've already found out that one of the items is registered to somebody different than who's actually living here, so we're hopeful around that one. All in all, it's been a good day's work.
The 3 men arrested during the 2 raids have subsequently been bailed pending further inquiries and the results of forensic tests. Meanwhile, the Magpie team continue to investigate whether the items seized are indeed stolen.
So we'll be looking to investigate this now, reunite them back to their rightful owners. And that's one of the reasons that we do this job. It's nice to get stuff back to people.
Police discovered that one of the 2 seized laptops was registered to an owner in Teesside. Taking note of serial numbers and registering our treasured items with the manufacturers and on property register websites such as Checkmend and Immobilise better enables police to reunite people with their stolen items.